All right, let's jump into another deep dive.
Okay, sounds good.
Today, we're going deep on big-time college football.
Ooh, interesting.
But we're not talking about,
Right.
the X's and O's.
Yeah.
Or who's going to win the Heisman.
Right.
We're going deeper.
Mm-hmm.
We're looking at the values
Gotcha.
of the people who make up this whole world.
I like it.
We're talking athletic directors, boosters, university presidents, even those professors
Right.
who,
Yeah.
sneak in a game between grading papers. We're trying to figure out what they want from college football and how it might change.
That's a big question.
It is a big question.
Yeah.
And to help us answer it,
Okay.
we're diving into Beyond the Game,
Yeah.
Optimizing Stakeholder Value.
Interesting title.
It is. It's a dissertation by Timothy James Rice.
Okay.
And what's interesting about this is he actually has a background in college athletics.
Oh, wow. So he's coming at it with some real experience.
Yeah, it's not just theoretical.
Yeah.
It's like he's been in the trenches.
That's cool.
And he looks at 5 main groups of stakeholders.
Got it.
So we've got athletic administrators.
Okay, so like the folks running the athletic department.
Exactly. Then we've got donors and season ticket holders.
Yeah, right. The diehard fans.
Yep. Then university presidents.
So like the big picture people.
Yeah. Got to keep everyone happy.
Right?
Then faculty.
Okay, so those working directly with the student athletes.
Right. And finally,
Okay.
football alumni.
So those who've lived it.
Exactly.
Wow. That's a pretty diverse group.
It is.
Yeah.
And you'd think they'd all want different things from college football.
Right. Different perspectives.
Totally different backgrounds and priorities. But Rice found they actually all valued the same 3 things.
Really? Now that's surprising.
I know, right?
So what are those 3 things?
He calls it the PIE framework.
PIE, like what you eat.
Exactly.
Okay. I'm intrigued.
And it stands for people, impact, and emotion.
People, impact, and emotion.
Yes.
So it's not just about the wins and losses.
No, it's about something bigger.
That's fascinating. So are you saying that a wealthy donor and a professor, despite their differences, they both prioritize these PIE values?
Yeah. They both care about the people involved.
Okay.
The difference that the sport makes in their lives.
Right.
And the emotional connections.
Wow. So it's about more than just winning games.
Exactly.
It's about the human element.
Exactly.
I like that.
Now, I get why the people part matters.
Yeah, especially in a sport as intense as football.
Yeah. But break down the impact piece for me.
Sure.
What kind of impact are we talking about here?
Well, think about this. San Diego State's basketball team,
Okay.
at their end-of-year banquet, the person who got the most thank yous wasn't the coach.
Really?
It was their academic advisor.
Wow. That's really telling.
It is.
It shows that it's not just about what happens on the court
Exactly.
or the field.
Right.
It's about these athletes' lives as a whole.
Yes. It's about their growth as people.
Their education and how they contribute to the community.
It's about making a difference.
It is.
Yeah.
It reminds me of all those stories we hear about alumni mentoring players.
Right.
Or athletes volunteering at schools.
It's about giving back.
Yeah, and building something that lasts.
Exactly. It's about legacy.
And the emotion piece is huge, too.
Yeah, I can't forget that.
You think about that shared passion.
Right.
The school spirit. The feeling of being part of something bigger.
It's powerful stuff.
It is.
Yeah.
It's what keeps those fans coming back year after year.
Absolutely.
So we've got these 3 core values.
Okay.
Let's see how they play out for each of those stakeholder groups.
Sounds good. Where do we start?
Let's start with those folks working behind the scenes. The athletic administrators.
Okay, the unsung heroes.
For them, it's all about making a difference in those athletes' lives.
Yeah, seeing them grow.
Right. As both players and people.
Makes sense.
And they love the teamwork.
Yeah.
The camaraderie of being part of an athletic department.
Right, that sense of working together towards a shared goal.
But Rice found something that makes you wonder if all that teamwork is enough.
Oh, what's that?
63%
Okay.
of athletic administrators have at least occasionally thought about leaving their jobs.
Really? That many?
Yeah. And these are people who are passionate about their work.
So why would they want to leave?
Well,
Yeah.
I think it comes down to sustainability.
Okay, I see.
The hours are long.
Uh-huh.
The pressure to win is intense.
Yeah.
And the whole landscape of college athletics is changing so rapidly.
Right. It's a lot to handle.
It is. It takes its toll.
So it's not just about loving the game anymore.
No, it's a high-stakes business.
That's a good point. Yeah.
And it's burning people out.
That's a problem.
It is.
Universities need to find ways to support these folks.
Yeah. Or they're going to lose them.
And that would be a huge loss for college athletics.
It would.
Yeah, because they're the ones who make it all happen behind the scenes.
All right, let's move on to the folks keeping the lights on, donors and season ticket holders.
Okay, the ones with the deep pockets.
Yeah.
So what motivates them? I mean, obviously they want to see their team win.
Of course.
But is there more to it than that?
There is.
Okay, I'm listening.
It's about being part of something bigger.
Okay.
It's about community, pride in their institution, and really investing in the future of these athletes.
So it's not just a transaction.
No, it's about building a legacy.
Right.
And they often form really strong relationships with the athletes they support.
So they see the impact firsthand.
Exactly.
That's cool.
Rice even shared a story about a donor who ended up forming a lifelong bond with a scholarship recipient.
Wow, that's amazing.
It is.
Yeah, it shows the power of those personal connections.
It's something to keep in mind as we talk about these changes happening in college athletics.
Right, like NIL deals.
Exactly.
Because those are changing the financial landscape in a big way.
And it could have a ripple effect on those relationships.
That's a great point.
Okay, so we've talked about the behind-the-scenes folks and the diehard fans.
Yeah.
Now let's talk about the people at the top.
Okay, you mean like the university presidents? I imagine they're more focused on academics.
Yeah, you'd think they'd be a little hesitant about all the sports frenzy.
Right, trying to keep everything balanced.
Well, it turns out they actually see athletics as a huge asset.
Really?
Yeah.
How so?
They understand that a successful football program can boost the university's reputation, attract top students,
makes sense,
and even bring in more funding for the whole university.
So it's like a win-win.
As long as they keep academics a priority.
Right. Can't forget about that.
And they're not just looking at it from a financial standpoint either.
Okay.
They see it as a way to build community on campus, foster that school spirit, and showcase the university's values to the world.
It's like a marketing tool.
Kind of.
Interesting.
Rice even included a quote from a vice president.
Oh, what'd they say?
He called the athletic department the front porch of the university.
I like that.
It's the first thing people see.
Right.
And it sets the tone for the whole institution.
That's a great analogy.
But let's not forget the people who are shaping those young minds.
Yeah.
The faculty.
Right, the professors.
Where do they fit into all this?
Yeah, good question.
Well, they're deeply invested in the development of these student athletes.
Okay.
And not just academically.
So they're not just worried about athletes being distracted from their studies.
Not at all.
Okay.
They really want to see these young people succeed in all aspects of their lives.
So they play a supportive role.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And with all these changes happening, like conference realignment.
Right. All that moving around.
They're increasingly concerned about the impact on academics.
Yeah, I can see that.
You know, all that travel can lead to missed class time.
Yeah, it's a lot to juggle.
It is.
Yeah.
But it's not just the current faculty who care about these athletes.
Right.
Let's talk about those who've walked in their shoes. The football alumni.
Okay, the ones who've been there, done that.
So what makes them come back for more long after their playing days are over?
Yeah, what keeps them connected?
It's about those deep bonds.
Okay.
They forged during their time on the team.
Makes sense.
The camaraderie, the shared experiences, the feeling of belonging to something bigger than themselves.
That's powerful.
It is.
Yeah.
And they valued the traditions,
Okay.
the memories, and the opportunity to give back and mentor the next generation of athletes.
So it's like a cycle?
It is. Rice shared a great story about a group of alumni who have this special tradition every year at the Rose Bowl.
Oh, wow.
It just shows how those emotional connections can last a lifetime.
That's awesome.
It is.
But
yeah,
some of these recent changes in college athletics are really putting those traditions and that sense of community to the test.
Yeah, it's going to be interesting to see how it all plays out.
It is.
Definitely a lot to unpack.
For sure. Yeah, it's like we're watching this tug of war between the old and the new.
Okay.
The traditional values and all these new forces.
Right. Like NIL deals.
Oh, yeah. NIL's been a game changer.
It has been.
For sure.
I mean, it's completely changed the game.
It's been really interesting to see how it's all playing out.
Yeah, especially in terms of those PIE values we were talking about.
Right. Like those donors who love that personal connection and seeing the impact of their contributions. Yeah. Well, now with NIL, some of them are shifting their focus.
Okay, so they're not giving directly to the athletic department anymore.
Some aren't, no.
So where's the money going?
They're giving directly to athletes.
Oh, wow.
Through these things called NIL collectives.
NIL collectives.
Yeah.
I've never even heard of that.
So basically, there are groups of boosters and fans
Okay.
who pool their money together, and they fund NIL deals for athletes at a specific school.
So it's like a mini endorsement market.
It is, yeah.
Wow. I can see how that would be a bit unsettling for an athletic director.
Oh, absolutely.
I mean, they're used to having control over the finances.
Right, and this adds a whole new layer of competition.
Yeah, and it raises all sorts of questions about fairness and transparency.
Doesn't it?
I mean, are these collectives playing by the rules?
That's a good question.
And is it going to create an even bigger gap between the haves and the have-nots?
It could, yeah.
These are all things the NCAA is trying to figure out right now.
They've got their work cut out for them.
But what about the athletes themselves?
Yeah.
I imagine it's a pretty exciting time for them.
Yeah, I mean,
to be able to actually make money from their talent.
It's a huge opportunity.
But it's got to add a whole new level of pressure, too.
Doesn't it? I mean,
now they're not just student athletes.
Yeah.
They've got to think about managing their finances, negotiating deals, maybe even hiring agents.
That's a lot to handle.
On top of everything else.
It's a lot to juggle.
And are they making decisions based on what's best for their development?
That's the key question, isn't it?
Or are they chasing the biggest paycheck?
Right. It's a tough call.
Especially for these young athletes who are still figuring things out.
It is. It's a lot of responsibility.
Okay, so we've got NIL shaking things up. But then there's the transfer portal.
Oh, yeah. The portal's been wild.
It has.
It seems like players are switching teams all the time now.
It is.
Way more than they used to.
So is that a good thing or a bad thing?
Well, it's kind of both, honestly.
Right.
On the one hand, it gives athletes more freedom and control.
Yeah, I can see that.
I mean, if they're not happy with their playing time or their coach, they can explore other options.
Which makes sense if they're thinking about going pro.
Exactly. It's like a business decision.
But all that player movement creates challenges too.
It does, yeah.
Coaches are constantly having to recruit and rebuild their rosters.
And it's hard to build a strong team culture when you've got so much turnover.
What about those emotional connections?
Ooh, that's a good point.
It's got to be hard for fans to stay loyal when the players are constantly changing.
It definitely disrupts that sense of tradition.
All right, so we've got NIL, we've got the transfer portal, and then there's conference realignment.
Oh, yeah. That's a whole other beast.
It is. It seems like every few years we get a whole new map of college football.
Teams jumping ship left and right.
All chasing those bigger TV deals.
It's all about the money, isn't it?
It seems like it.
Yeah.
But it's more than just money.
Right. It has all these other consequences.
Like what?
Well, traditional rivalries get tossed aside.
Oh, yeah. I remember when Texas A&M used to play every year.
Right. Huge rivalry.
Now they're in different conferences.
And those games are gone.
It's a shame, really.
Yeah, it's a loss for the fans.
And the sport itself.
Exactly.
And it's not just about rivalries.
No.
Realignment drives up travel costs for everyone.
And that impacts academics.
Right. Players missing more class.
It just creates a bigger gap between the wealthy programs and everyone else.
It seems like this constant chase for bigger and better deals is really shaking the very foundation of college football.
It is.
And in all this talk about money and competition, are we forgetting about the people at the heart of it all?
That's the question, isn't it?
The athletes.
Yeah, I mean, Rice's dissertation gives us all this great insight from the other stakeholders, but it doesn't really capture the voices of the athletes themselves.
It doesn't.
And that's a big missing piece.
Yeah.
I mean, thinking back to that quote from Coach Brennan about love being part of the equation, it makes me wonder if we're losing sight of that human element with all these changes. Are we putting the business side ahead of the well-being of the athletes?
That's a great question.
We know the administrators are feeling burnt out. Donors are changing how they give faculty or worried about academics.
Right.
But what about the athletes?
Yeah, what are their concerns?
What are their hopes for the future of their sport?
We need to hear from them.
Yeah.
It does feel like college football's at a crossroads.
Yeah, definitely.
Amazing traditions, huge fan base.
Yeah.
But all these changes.
Right. Like, how do we make it work?
Where do we even go from here?
That's the million-dollar question, right?
That's nice.
And Rice, he doesn't give us, like, all the answers.
Okay.
But his dissertation, it does give us some clues.
Okay, I'm all ears.
So he suggests, like, a two-pronged approach.
Okay.
So first, he thinks the NCAA, like the big guys,
the powers that be.
they need to really embrace that PIE framework.
Right, people, impact, emotion.
Exactly.
Okay, so it's not just about saying academics matter.
No, it's about putting the student back in student-athlete.
Creating a system where they can actually thrive.
Right, like on and off the field.
Yeah, and that means fostering those personal connections between athletes and coaches.
Right, and recognizing that these are young people.
Yeah, they need guidance, mentorship, not just contracts and endorsements.
It's about preparing them for life after college.
Right.
Whether they go pro or not.
Exactly, and that brings us to that second part of his approach.
Right.
What happens at the school level?
Yeah, because each school's different. Okay.
So athletic departments, they need to understand what their own stakeholders actually want.
Okay, so those 5 groups.
Right. The administrators, donors, the presidents.
Faculty, alumni.
Each school needs to figure out what makes their stakeholders tick.
So like a deep dive into their own community.
Exactly. Understanding what motivates them.
What worries them.
What they want for the future.
Okay, and how do they do that?
Talk to them.
Seems simple enough.
It is, yeah.
Conduct surveys.
Hold focus groups.
Have conversations.
Just listen.
But I bet a lot of athletic departments.
Yeah.
They're so caught up in the day-to-day.
I know, right?
They forget to do that.
It's easy to get caught up in the whirlwind.
The recruiting, the fundraising.
All of it.
But taking the time to actually listen to the people who are invested, it's crucial.
It is, especially now with everything changing so fast.
Okay, so let's say they do all that.
All right.
They understand what their stakeholders value.
Yeah.
Then what? That's when the real work starts.
All right, what's the next?
It's about finding creative ways to create value
for
everyone involved.
Give me an example.
Well, maybe it's developing new programs that connect alumni with current athletes.
Okay, yeah, like mentorship.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Or partnering with faculty to design academic programs that really leverage athletics.
So the athletes are prepared for life beyond sports.
Right. It's about thinking outside the box.
Finding those win-win scenarios.
Exactly.
And transparency is key too, right?
Oh, absolutely.
If donors are worried about NIL deals,
talk to them.
Explain what the school's doing.
Right. Build trust.
Show them we're all on the same team.
That's a great way to put it.
Because at the end of the day, that's what college football is all about.
Right.
That sense of community.
That shared passion.
Being part of something bigger.
It's powerful stuff.
And that's what we need to hold on to.
Yeah.
As we figure all this out.
We need to find a way to preserve what makes college football special.
While also adapting to the changes.
It's a balancing act.
It is, but it's a challenge worth taking on.
It is.
And it's not just up to the NCAA and the athletic department.
No, we all have a role to play.
Whether you're a diehard fan or just someone who loves watching a good game.
Your voice matters.
So, we'll leave you with this thought.
Okay.
If you could wave a magic wand and change one thing about college football, what would it be?
That's a good one.
What would make it more equitable?
More sustainable.
More fulfilling for everyone?
It's a question worth pondering.
It is, because as we've learned in this deep dive, college football is more than just a game.
It really is.
It reflects our values.
Our hopes.
Our dreams.
And the choices we make today, they'll shape its future for generations to come.
Thanks for joining us on this deep dive.
We'll see you next time.